Hi, welcome back to Moose and Chemistry. This is Boyle's Law gas lesson number 3. We're going to do two problems in this particular lesson, and we've been usually working with atmospheres. Now we're going to work with millimeters of mercury. And it really doesn't matter whether we use atmospheres or millimeters of mercury, or even torr, as long as both units are the same. That's very, very important. We're also going to be working in liters. So let's go ahead and write down Boyle's Law first. Boyle's Law, remember, is pressure 1, volume 1 equals pressure 2, volume 2. So let's go ahead and list our pressures. P1, V1, P2, V2. So we're going to set everything up here. And I like doing this because it helps us to figure out who's who and keep things straight. So a gas occupies 12.3 liters, so that's our first volume, and a pressure of 40 millimeters of mercury. So we're going to go 40.0 millimeters of mercury. We have our second pressure, which is 60.0 millimeters of mercury. So we're looking for our volume. All right, so now all we have to do is rewrite P1 V1 equals P2 V2. So we're going to write it as solving for V2 equals P1 V1 over P2. Now all we want to do is plug in our numbers, and then we'll be able to solve it. Pretty easy, huh? So we set up V2, so P1 is 40 milliliters. There we go. And times our first volume, which was 12.3 liters. So far, so good. No big deal. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take and divide it by 60 milliliters. Now I want you to look at the top and look at the bottom. We have millimeters of mercury on both the top and the bottom, so we can get rid of those units, leaving us only liters, which is what we're trying to solve. So now we're going to sit there and take our calculator and do the math. So I'm going to punch this in. And let's see, 40 times 12.3. Okay, that gives me like 492. So that gives me 492 liters on top, divided by 60.0. Okay, so V2 is going to be, so divide that number by 60, gives me 8.2 liters. All right, great. Let's look at the second problem. Now, the second problem is in torr. Okay, but they're both in torr, so it really doesn't matter whether it's torr, millimeters of mercury, atmospheres, bars, whatever, kilopascals, pascals, all that's okay. So let's go ahead and let's get rid of those lines there for a moment. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and write down Boyle's Law again, which you know as P1 V1 equals P2 V2. And again, this is pretty simple stuff. You go P1 V1 P2 V2. And again, I like to take these and put them onto the side here, and that kind of keeps, in pace what kind of units I have and where they belong. So let's look at this. We have a pressure of 800 torr to start with. Okay. And we have a volume of 400 milliliters. Now, that really doesn't matter where we have liters and milliliters because we're only showing one volume. But if one of the volumes were milliliters and one was liters, then we would have to default to liters. But we don't have that situation going on, so we don't worry about that right now. So go ahead and clear all that. Okay, so now we're back here, and our second pressure, again, this time was 1,000 torr. And again, both of these are in the same gas units, so they're going to cancel each other out anyway. So we are looking for a volume 2 again. So we're going to set up V2 equals P1 V1 over P2. Pretty simple. So let's go ahead and do the math. So V2 equals 800 torr on top. That's right. times our first volume, which is 400 milliliters. You know, we can actually turn that into liters later, and I guess we can do that if you don't feel right about using milliliters. So we're going to divide by 1,000 torr. All right, now let's go ahead and cancel out our common units, cancel out the torrs. So we're going to go 800 times 400. So we got 800 times 400, which is going to give me 320,000 milliliters. That's a pretty big darn number. Okay, and that's in milliliters. And we're going to divide this by 1,000, which is going to give me 320 milliliters. Now, like I said, if you didn't like it in milliliters, you could take 320 milliliters and convert it into liters. We're going to move it over 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, give me 0.320 liters. Or I could put 0.320 liters. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have an awesome day, and we'll see you back at Moose and Chemistry. Talk to you then.